Welcome to Politics Done Right. Got the cues wrong, but that's fine. How's everybody doing? I trust everybody's doing just fine. We are going to have a great show for you today, my peeps. How's everybody doing? I trust everybody's doing just fine. I got my cue off a bit. I pushed the wrong button. You know, there are a whole lot of buttons to push. When you go ahead and push the wrong button, this is what happens. Anyway, I trust everybody had a good weekend. I sure had a great weekend talking to everybody else. Just having fun with talking to all my peeps around the town. I couldn't leave towns, but just around my area, etc., etc., etc. So we're going to have a great show for you today. As we speak right now, I am still sharing a few things on the internet. Make sure that we get maximal visibility as possible. You know how that goes, especially when you're throttled. Sometimes when you're throttled, you have to make that extra effort to get your stuff out there. But you know how else can we do? Great. I'm glad you started reading the book, Eric. You got to let me know what you think about it. Let everybody know what you think about it and give a little review so that folks can say, yeah, I want to get the book too. All right, folks, let's get busy. Anyhow, welcome aboard May Wood from Long Beach, California. How are you doing, my brother, Mr. Wood? We also have in the house, Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. And in the house as well, we have, Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. I also call it upstate. All right, upstate New York. Is that right, Bridge? Do you consider that upstate? You know, I'm not a New Yorker, but I think everybody that I know called that upstate New York. So I would say that you are in upstate New York, my dear. Who else have we got here in the house? We also have Paul Fleming, Atlanta, Georgia. Lee Grant, Montgomery County, Texas. Eric Hayes. We have Eric in Atascocita, Kingwood. We also have Paul. I got Paul E2247 from all over the world. And of course, we have Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. And the one and only AVQ, Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. I got it all right today. Anybody? Jay Ray from Third Ward. I just picked you up, Jay Ray. Let's see, who else did I miss? I don't think I missed anybody. As people come in, I'll go ahead and give them their acknowledgement. Anyhow, folks, Brother Rudnin has something here. He says the death toll in the terror attack at Moscow's Crocus City Hall has risen to 137 people, including 3 children. Russia's investigative committee said Sunday as the search operations continue for bodies under the rubble. Authorities said that the death toll could rise significantly. 4 suspected gunmen responsible for the attack were arrested near Russia's western border with Ukraine. 7 others have been detained, and the search for the other accomplices is ongoing. Investigators said more than 500 rounds of ammunition and 28 magazines, as well as 2 Kalashnikov's assault rifles were found at the scene. ISIS claimed responsibility for the deadly attack Friday night in which gunmen opened fire. I see. I won't read the rest. You guys can read that on your own, my brothers. All right, what else have we got here? We have from Paul Fleming, a federal judge dismissed ex-owner Elon Musk's lawsuit against a research group that documented an uptick in hate speech on the social media site, saying the organization's reports on the platform formerly known as Twitter were protected by First Amendment. So, I mean, of course, the guy runs a hate machine. Of course. All right, E2247 says, after action statement of 10 sponsored nations ends by dissension in the huddle on issues of whether SRES 278-2024 is legally binding or only moral binding, cause U.S. in meeting to talk. I think we're talking about, what are we talking about there? Oh, I think we're talking about the ceasefire, correct? Yeah, the ceasefire. All right. UN so far has had no oomph, but you know, what can I say? Sometimes you wonder about it, you know? All right. J. Ray says, hola, Egberto. And E227 continues to give us that good information. 626 people per day continues. And death toll of 32,333. Thank you for keeping that on the front page, brother. Thank you for keeping that on the front page. Experts. Fani Willis' comments just dealt a terrible hit to credibility of Trump RICO case. Huh? Experts. Fani Willis' comments just dealt a terrible hit to credibility of what the hell is that supposed to mean? Let's see. I'm not sure I understand what that means, but that should be funny. The train is coming in the Fulton County prosecution co-defendant. Willis, who narrowly escaped disqualification in former president election subversion case following hearings over the romantic relationship suffered while ongoing. Look, I think they just need to leave Fani Willis alone, but that's my view. E2247 says 17 Senate Democrats told Biden Israel doesn't meet a credible and reliable test detailed by a national security memo requiring U.S. weapons recipient. You know, Israel, I want you guys to tell me this. Israel, who the hell does Israel think it is? Now, everybody's trying to get a ceasefire to stop the killing, the murder, the genocidal behavior of the Israeli government. So America tried to do a ceasefire. Russia and China went ahead and denied it. They went ahead and not abstained, but they actually blocked it, vetoed it. Then the body came up with another plan, and the United States didn't go for it. They just abstained, which means the plan goes through. And Israel is mad that the United States went ahead and say, I abstain. I'm not going to block you guys from doing the humane thing. And they're mad, so they're not going to send their people to meet with the Biden administration to go over their military, what they want to do with our bombs in Gaza. So they're going to spite us. Israel is going to spite us. They're going to get upset at us. And they're not going to come here. How dare America vote against, didn't vote against a ceasefire? Who the hell does Netanyahu think he is? We are paying for the bombs. All of you that are listening to me, your taxpayer dollars are going into killing a whole bunch of Palestinians. And this thug named Netanyahu wants to give Biden a short eye for not. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I say we cut all aid to Israel until Netanyahu is out of office. Cut all support for military action for Israel until Netanyahu is out of office. That is what we need. That is what we need now. J. Ray says, hope everyone had a good weekend. Send in more well wishes to your wife, Linda. Thank you so kindly. I just dropped her off at the doctor's office and Ashley met us there. Ashley's going to bring her back. You know, we have to do this timing right. This is her first checkup after she left the hospital on Thursday. So they're doing a little checkup right now. She's very weak. She's still lost a few more pounds, but, you know, we expect her to start recovering from that shingle plus lupus, which is a terrorist on the body. Michael Rodden says, yes, Eric lowered by half. Trump will still more than half is 61%, lowered by 61%. Eric lowered by half. Trump has to pay huge before he can file any appeal. Trump only has half of this. There's all the criminal charges of businesses fraud. Donald Trump and other defendants in his fraud case won an appeal Monday to have their bond reduced, requiring them to now put up $175. Yeah, I did a piece on that. All right. Paul Fleming says, Liz Cheney, Trump is not an acceptable alternative. He is not the lesser of two evils. He is a completely unfit man for office. He's already shown us what he would do, and he can never be near the Oval Office again. She said that in 2023. Thank you for that. Maywood is talking to somebody else. Let's see what else I got. Amazon and SpaceX are fighting in court to have the NLRB declared unconstitutional. This means the two richest men on earth want to dismantle the agency that holds them accountable for union busting. Nothing terrifies them more than worker power. They got to be nuts. I mean, I didn't even know that story, Paul. Thanks for bringing that to me because it's probably something I need to cover tomorrow on my morning show. Lee Grant says, how will you get Hamas to respect a ceasefire? Will the ceasefire include Hezbollah? Who is the one doing all of the killings right now, Lee Grant? How many Israelis were killed by Palestinians, whether Hezbollah, Hamas, or any other one? Please name me right now Since October 7th, how many Palestinians killed Israelis? Whether in the West Bank or in Gaza. How many? How many Palestinians have killed Israelis since October 7th? You know, one of the things that, this morning I was talking about how indoctrinated we are, right? We are such an indoctrinated nation, right? That we allow people to screw us and tell us the things that our eyes are seeing are not what our eyes are seeing. As brother E2247 points out, 32,000 dead Palestinians, infrastructure destroyed, people living in tents. Who is the aggressor? I mean, and don't say, well, it started on October 7th. It did not start on October 7th, which October 7th was a terrorist attack and wrong. Innocent people died. But who is the aggressor? Please tell me, folks. 32,000 plus Palestinians dead. Gaza decimated. Infrastructure gone. People living in tents, outdoor sewers. Who is the aggressor? Your eyes are not lying to you. All right. Paul Fleming says, former Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd delivered a stunning rebuke. I have that on video as well. That's one of the things that we're playing today. Travis Dennis says, hey, I have a big regrets of who we get as president in the U.S. when we are going to raise off our butts and reel about history and stop lying to our. I don't quite understand what you're saying, but I got you. All right, Michael René says, replying to Maywood, found a new favorite video, Magic Craft. Okay, Carl Cox says, Putin knew attack was going to happen, just like Netanyahu on October 7th and Bush on 9/11. Bush didn't know it was going to be 9/11, but he knows something was up. It's all in the papers. But what can I say? Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. But it would help if I go ahead and put the one that I want to get into the system first. As you guys know, Donald Trump got a reprieve. But let me go ahead and get that into the system first. If I can find it, Rich, there we go. All right. But before I do that, I want to remind you of something. Oh, let me read Bridget. She says, Egberto, Willies, Shirley, Anita Chisholm, November 30, 1924 to 2005, was an American politician. I saw the movie last night. The first black woman to be elected to the United States Congress. Chisholm represented New York's 12th district, a district centered in Bedford-Stuyvesant, for 7 terms from 1969 to 83. In 1979, she became the first black candidate for a major party nomination for president of the United States and the first woman to run for the Democratic Party presidential nomination. Throughout her career, she was known for taking a resolute stand against economic, social, and political injustices, as well as being a strong supporter of black civil rights and women's. Her movie is out on Netflix. It was a great movie. I went downstairs to get a friend of ours brought some. I think it was what did they bring? I don't remember what they brought, but anyhow, I came to get a little something, and Ashley forced me to sit down for, I think it was like the 90-minute that was left in the movie or something, and I simply enjoyed it. I simply enjoyed it. It was a good movie. Let's see. Paul Fleming says last week the U.S. Senate confirmed Judge Melissa DuBose to the U.S. District Court of Rhode Island, making her the first person of color and the first openly gay LGBTQ judge to serve on this court. Judge DuBose is also the 100th black woman ever confirmed in a lifetime federal judgeship in the United States, making history on the Women's History Month. Well, Bush, he's trying to fulfill his promise. All right, what I'm saying is that when are we going to have the right president to stand up for blacks and rights in the U.S.? And that means right one step out on the streets. People are hurting. We never had the right one stand up. What voted for? I mean, if you listen to Malcolm X's video, he speaks the truth. Okay. Look, we have to vote. We have to tell our people to vote. And not only, it's not about voting only. it's about voting the right people in. All right, let's go with the first video. And the first video has to do with, of course, the bond. So let's go ahead and play that, and then we'll take it on the other side. This morning, our studio engineer, Howard, he said, he was waiting to see what happened to Donald Trump with the bond. And I said, you know what? I don't hold much hope that he's going to have to pay it. And, because, who the wealthy kind of look out for each other. I want to play that, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I'm anxiously awaiting the Donald Trump bond thing today. This should be very interesting what happens. I mean, is somebody going to ride in like the cavalry and throw down $454 million to save the Donald? I don't think so.
I think he's going to be saved. I'm sorry. The guy is going to be, I think, rich people are going to come to the rescue, because as bad as Trump is, what they see in him is they don't want this is my opinion only, folks. I don't think they ever want to see a super rich person that is in the top X% of us to have a problem, because they look in the mirror and say, oh, suppose the masses come for me. We can't set that precedent. That's my thought, but. And lo and behold, guess what happens? This happens.
I'm being told right now that that bond, that $500 million bond that had been set and that the former president had to deal with today, has now been reduced to $175 million. So that $465 million plus bond that he was looking at has now been reduced. As of right now, we're getting this breaking news. This appeals court allowing the former president to post a smaller bond of $175 million within 10 days.
Jose, it tells me something that you and I have talked about before, and that is the playbook is different for former President Trump. We were literally talking about this the last time you and I discussed this case. I expect for them to do something for him that's different than what you see for everybody else when they go to court. So here, he's given more time to pay less money. That's what it comes down to.
And Tristan, so what does that process look like in the courtroom?
Do we even need to ask? I mean, honestly, this is so infuriating. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know if I care what the process is that these judges are arriving at. Whatever it is, it's flawed. I can tell you that much. I mean, David put it well. This is a different process for this person. We have decided that he gets his own private court of justice. He has a private plane. He has private clubs that he lives in. Apparently, he basically fashioned himself his own private militia to try to take over the Capitol. Now he's getting his own private system of justice. This is an absolute travesty. It would not happen for anybody else. Anybody else, it would be like, sorry, buddy, you lost, pay up. For him, he gets his own set of rules.
I can't blame David Henderson. I can't blame the other guy that spoke. There are two justice systems in this country. And some people get over and over and over, breaks and privilege. Eddie Glaude said it best. I want you to listen to this.
I think it's so clear to me that the failure to hold Donald Trump accountable over the course of his life has led this man to be able to think that he can act with impunity, that he can act without being held responsible for anything. The idea that Paul Manafort, given what Andrew just laid out, can re-enter politics boggles my mind. And to be honest with you, and I know this may sound a bit, obsessive on my part. Damn, white men get breaks, man.
Please.
But could you imagine anybody else being able to do this? Whether it's Trump or Manafort or whomever, it just blows my mind, Mike.
Yes, it is obvious. There's two justice systems in this country. One hopes that someday it will be really a blind justice.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutamente so. I think I'll stand myself corrected, Senor. Running 3 justice system, 1 for rich men, 1 for middle-class white people, and 1 for poor minorities. I will have to kind of agree with that because, I mean, you know what I always say. I try to stay my best out completely, entirely of the justice system because it's never justice. For some of us, justice has never been blind. And again, Donald Trump is a perfect example. We have the Supreme Court protecting him. We have just people protecting him over and over and over. Paul Fleming says tensions between the U.S. and Israel were exposed on Monday when Washington stood aside and allowed the UN Security Council to pass a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The U.S. decision to abstain on that vote prompted Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to cancel the scheduled visit of the top advisors. I think we spoke about that before. Anyhow, folks, anybody want to give me a call and talk before I go to the second video? 281-823-7747, 281-823-7747. Love to hear your voices. I want to get more calls here on our afternoon program. I mean, in the morning programs, we get a ton of calls. It was interesting because this morning, the subject was so deep and we kept on talking, and only one call came in. A guy named Donald called into the show. And then I just happened to say, wow, am I boring? I don't hear the phones aren't ringing. The regulars aren't calling. The new people aren't calling. And who told me to say that? Them, all the lines, all 6 lines lit up right away. So I had to handle those calls rather quickly. But anyway, let's go ahead to Brother Ray. Thank you for calling in, Ray. How you doing, Ray? Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've been listening to you, Brother Egberto. Donald Trump is bleeding money right now. And, the funny thing is, even though his bond was reduced, there's a part of me that still believes that he's salty at the fact that he has to pay anything at all,
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the fact that he got a reduction, which is $100-something million, which is more money than most of us will think about making in our lifetime.
Ray, I need to correct you. It was almost $300 million in reductions. Almost 300 million. Not.
Okay, yeah, it was 400 million, and then it went down to 100-something million. So it was like a 75% reduction, basically.
Yeah, pretty darn close. Yes, sir.
And
yes.
And like I said, I feel like he was salty at the fact that he had to pay that, But, it's the fact that, he did get that break, like Eddie Glaude said it the best, man. White man get breaks. If I had an ounce or a droplet of the grace that he got when I had to deal with the criminal justice system, you know what? I feel like I might have a God complex too. And that's what this man has. He has a God complex. He thinks he's Christ. He thinks he's being unjustly persecuted on the cross. This man has a complex like he is a Messiah, like he is a prophet. I had posted a meme on Facebook. Maybe I'll share it with you. But it's like basically they said that, there will be a day when, people who are religious will wear the mark.
Wear the mark, yeah.
The false prophet on their head, and it was a "Make America Great" hat. And that's basically
Oh my God!
I couldn't disagree with that. I mean, that's pretty much
says it.
That's the mark of the beast for me. That's the 666 of 2024 is the Make America Great hat.
Man, I love that. The MAGA. So it's not going to be 666. It's going to be MAGA. So look in the under the hair pieces of people and see if you see MAGA. That's funny. That is funny, Ray. But yeah. So anything else you want to say, Ray, before we go on to the next video?
No, just a leisurely rant. I appreciated. I appreciated what you said this morning about the tax issue, because I remember we were talking about that the other day. I mean, if you ask me, the way the tax code is written, it's not as progressive as it should be. But no, I will say that, for everybody that complains about, tax policy, I will say that I looked at my situation from the year that Trump was in office, and then I looked at my tax situation when Biden was in office. And yes, it might not have been noticeable. Yes, I did pay less taxes the year that Biden was elected than the year that Trump was elected, because the tax bracket had been restructured to where I would pay, basically I wouldn't have to pay as much taxes on the first bracket, basically, it's what, 10% on the first 10,000 or something like that.
Yeah, no. What happened is you get a 25. You get a 25. I think it's a 2,400 deductions thing. So it turns out to be something like what you just said. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, tax policy is so complicated for working class people. That's why rich people have such a heavy hand on, basically influencing that policy. But I'm not going to rant on that anymore. I'm going to let you go ahead and play the next video, Egberto, and I'll listen in. If I got anything else, I know the number.
Thank you, brother. And folks, don't forget, just like Ray did, you can call 281-823-7747. 281-823-7747. I like the idea of taking some calls on our afternoon shows as well. Now, this one I think you guys are going to like. This one is about Chuck Todd and NBC. I hadn't heard Chuck Todd talk like this before, but here we go, and we're going to hear it right now. Facing the heat from all the followers of news complaining about NBC hire of the former RNC Lion Chair, Ronald McDaniel, who teamed up with Trump to do all kinds of shenanigans to corrupt our political system, to take the election away from the people who voted in Biden. Chuck Todd came out with a strong statement apologizing to Kirsten Welker of Meet the Press, as well as pretty much admonishing the leadership at MSNBC, the bosses at MSNBC. Now, let's be clear here. The only reason Chuck Todd and the whole panel of guests could come out as hard as they had on NBC is to make sure that somehow they can earn back some credibility from the charlatanes that went ahead and hired a Ronald McDaniel as someone credible in the news department. Makes no sense. So they had to come out strong. I want you to listen to this, because I think it's good that they did this. I don't know if it really solves all of the problems. I think the only thing that will solve the problems is to make sure that she isn't on the network. She needs to leave the network. All right, they need to cancel the contract. But check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
Look, let me deal with the elephant in the room.
Yeah. I
think our bosses owe you an apology for putting you in this situation, because I don't know what to believe. She is now a paid contributor by NBC News. So I have no idea whether any answer she gave to you was because she didn't want to mess up her contract. She wants us to believe that she was speaking for the RNC when the RNC was paying for her. So she has credibility issues that she still has to deal with.
Yeah.
Is she speaking for herself, or is she speaking on behalf of who's paying her? Once at the RNC, she did say that, hey, I'm speaking for the party. I get that. That's part of the job. So what about here? I will say this. I think your interview did a good job of exposing, I think, many of the contradictions. And look, there's a reason why there's a lot of journalists at NBC News uncomfortable with this, because many of our professional dealings with the RNC over the last 6 years have been met with gaslighting, have been met with character assassination. So that's where you begin here. And so when NBC made the decision to give her NBC News' credibility, you got to ask yourself, what does she bring NBC News? And when we make deals like this, and I've been at this company a long time, you're doing it for access to audience. Sometimes it's access to an individual, and we can have a journalistic ethics debate about that. And I'm willing to have that debate. And if you told me we were hiring her as a technical advisor to the Republican convention, I think that would be certainly defensible. If you told me we're talking to her, but let's see how she does in some interviews and maybe vet her with actual journalists inside the network, see if it's a two-way, what she can bring the network. So I do think, unfortunately, this interview is always going to be looked through the prism of who is she speaking for, right? I think you did everything you could do. You got put into an impossible situation, booking this interview, and then all of a sudden the rugs pull out from under you. You find out she's being paid to show up. It's unfortunate for this program, but I am glad you did the best that you could, and that's why the three of us are on here to try to bolster that editorial independence.
Well, I appreciate that. Go ahead, Kimberly. Point about credibility as a journalist and as a lawyer, I think about credibility all the time. Credibility of sources, credibility of witnesses, and for the reasons that you laid out, and also the timing that she is only here after she got ousted from Trump's RNC. Her credibility is. There
have been attempts to book her as RNC chair on this show for years.
Yes. So her credibility is completely shot. So I have to do what Maya Angelou said. I believe what they do and not what anything that she said today. And in that, I know that she habitually lied. She habitually joined Trump in attacking the press, members of the press, including this network, in a way that put journalists at risk, in danger. And we do know that she carried water for Donald Trump, and we knew that she did participate in efforts to keep votes in Detroit, from my hometown. So I take this both journalistically serious and personal, to keep the votes from mostly Black voters in Detroit from being counted that night. We know that that's what she did. Part of that was that phone call that we were talking to her about. Part of that pressure campaign that Donald Trump now stands accused in the court of law of doing. So that's what I'm believing when it comes to Ronna McDaniel, not anything that she said today, because of those credibility
Stephen, where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I mean, look, on the one hand, if you've read some of the criticism of NBC that has come since the announcement, it is very clear that some of the critics just don't want to be confronted with Republican voices or conservative arguments. So there is that. And that's bad. We want to have a robust exchange between people who believe different things. But I agree. I agree with what's been said here. I mean, that's not what Ronna McDaniel is doing. That's not what she's been doing. And she has huge credibility problems, not because she's been a partisan spinner on behalf of the Republican Party, but because she not only presided, but drove the QAnonization of the Republican Party during her tenure. And it is the case that when you look at what she did with the fake electors specifically, she wasn't on that phone call because she felt bad about somebody. Donald Trump was on the call. Right. He was telling them, she was saying, we'll get you lawyers, because the entire 6-week period after the November 2020 election was about making the case that the election had been stolen. She did a tremendous disservice to the country by making the argument that led to the erosion of faith. We've got half of the Republicans right now believe the election wasn't fair. And even today, confronted with her past votes, she couldn't give you a straight answer until your fourth or fifth time pressing.
Chuck, final 10 seconds.
Look, it is important for this network and for always to have a wide aperture. Okay. And covering voters that have disparate beliefs, having ideological diversity on this panel is something I prided myself on. You and I both took plenty of grief when you have ideological and political diversity. I think all of us in mainstream media do a terrible job sometimes of geographic diversity and all this stuff. But I sort of call into question, and sometimes people think they understand the politics of this country when they're sort of in a very, very, very blue city. This is a Washington operative who I don't think is going to bring the network what they think it wants to bring to the network. I understand the motivation, but this execution, I think, was poor.
Yep, Ronna McDaniel, liar extraordinaire, a cheat, a political cheat, is now a member of the news team at NBC. I hope dearly that NBC does the right thing and make sure that lying, pathetic voice does not make it onto the air. She is partially responsible for the terrorist act against the United States on January 6th.
We spend a lot of time
All right. Okay. Yeah. And I always say McDonald is Ronna McDaniel. Forget. Now, Eric has got to be kidding. Eric says journalists put themselves at risk. Oh, all the time, both in war zones and in researching certain stories that hitmen can get them. You bet journalists put themselves at risk, not the ones that cover the White House or anything like that. Those are but no, there's a lot of journalists that put themselves at risk. Why I tell you though, open the horizon, start looking at the way things are and not the way you've been taught for them to be. The reason why you've been taught to hate journalists is because they expose the right. And remember earlier we were speaking about the mark of the beast. It seems like Radnin wants me to put the mark of the beast on. So what am I going to do? There is the mark of the beast. Is that what you wanted, Radnin? Did you get your mark of the beast, brother Radnin? There it is. 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 Anyhow. All right. Let's see. Paul Fleming says, Mark Cuban tells Axis, I don't want a snake oil person as president. I voted for Biden, Harris, and over Trump every day. I'm voting for Biden, Harris over Trump all day, every day. We need more businessmen and millionaires like Mark Cuban saying this. It's huge endorsement. Thank you, Mark Cuban. Paul Fleming says, Ronna McDaniel is a necessary material witness who possesses unique knowledge regarding the fake electors' conspiracy to overturn the results of the that's why it drives me crazy that they actually hired a criminal. They hired a criminal. All right. Bridge MCP says, not Fox and Newsmax. They aren't journalists. No, they're jokes. They are blowhard jokes, nothing more. Tom C says, instead of millions of dollars, would be better to penalize Trump with 10,000 hours of community service, cleaning up New York City subways and Central Park wearing an orange vest. Maybe he learned humility. In other words, you want him arrested. I agree. All right. Michael says, Egberto, I've got to ask. Nothing in the mail as of Saturday. I haven't checked today yet, Michael. Soon as I get it, I'm going to send you a little notice here, but nothing in the mail yet, sir. But I am going to check as soon as I get off of the program for today's mail, which should be in by 4, I think. Eric says replication of MSNBC is not journalism. Wait a minute. If I am telling folks things that they don't know, if I'm researching things, if I'm giving context to things, you bet that is journalism. Look it up. That's what we do. Walter Cronkite, and I'm no Walter Cronkite. I just wanted to just give an example that I think you would understand. Walter Cronkite did exactly that. Walter Cronkite got the messages from a lot of different reporters in the field. He analyzed it, put it together, and put it out into the ethos. Is that not journalism? I'm sure it is. But you see, you need to try to say something. Well, Tom C., welcome aboard from Michigan. I forgot the name of the town, though, but welcome aboard. All right. Our last video of the day is about AOC. And I think she did a great job on, I think it was State of the Union yesterday. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side. Jake Tapper this morning on State of the Union asked 2 questions of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that I found disappointing, especially given that Jake is generally very complete and many times don't fall for the mainstream media narrative that generally always tries to follow what the right wing on Fox News is doing or whatever. They allow Fox News to direct the narrative of the day. But that said, Jake asked two questions specifically to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I was disappointed. One, following the narrative then, because of all the assets, the possibility of seizing his assets, etc., does that make it more possible for Donald Trump to win, to gin up his base? And the second question is, don't you think independent voters will look at all these crimes being Trump being accused of as overkill or over the top? That's a gist of his question. I want you to listen to how Alexandria answered it, but I also want to comment on it after you watch this.
New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a Democrat. Congresswoman, thanks for joining us. So 5 years ago, as a brand new member of the House of Representatives, you grilled Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, about whether Mr. Trump had lied about his finances for tax purposes. Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, says that testimony directly led to her office's fraud investigation and this $464 million penalty, this bond Trump has until tomorrow to post. If he does not post that bond, do you think the state of New York and Attorney General James should begin seizing his assets? And are you at all concerned that doing so could actually lend him political support, feeding into his narrative that the deep state and Democrats are out to get him unfairly?
Well, I think Attorney General James has been handling this case with tremendous skill. It's ultimately up to her determination, but it is my belief that all people should be treated equally under the law. And if that seizure of assets would be pursued to any other American, then Donald Trump should be treated the same. As far as the political implications go, I think that what we are dealing with politically is the much larger and much more grave and serious pressure of having this judgment against Donald Trump and him being in this degree of debt, and the financial pressures that he is under and what he is subject to do in order to obtain those assets. I actually think that there is risk in not seizing these assets and the open window that exists in him trying to secure these funds through other means. We've seen a lot of interesting transactions happening with Truth Social and other means, and there's a very real risk of political corruption. I do think that he should be treated equally under the law.
What do you say to an independent voter, an average voter who looks at what's going on with Donald Trump? You have his assets might be seized tomorrow. You also have the hush money case from the district attorney, Alvin Bragg of New York. You also have the Georgia case about election interference. You also have the special counsel investigation on election interference. You also have the classified documents case down in Florida. That's 5 cases. And to a voter, what do you say to a voter who says, well, that doesn't look like he's being treated equally before the law? That looks like somebody that the government is going after.
Has there ever been a president, Republican or Democrat, that has been subject to this level of criminal charges, indictments, and investigations? This is not about party. This is not about politics. This is about corruption and criminality. We're talking about an individual who ordered essentially a terrorist attack on the Capitol of the United States in order to retain power. That is not about being a Republican. It is not about being a Democrat. It's about being an unethical and individual who is subject and prone to criminality. And unfortunately, this is the state that we're in. And I actually think that the fact that it's happening in so many places and so many jurisdictions cuts in the face of that. This is not just New York. This is Georgia. This is federal courts as well.
Now, here's the issue. First of all, throwing that narrative or repeating that narrative in the ethos, well, a person that commits all these crimes makes them stronger with the base. That is never the narrative that the mainstream media should be carrying on. It should be a narrative like a criminal. It is unlikely that a criminal with fair-thinking people would somehow start to acquire more votes. They have allowed a right-wing narrative to inculcate into the into the psyche of many of those people who then think it is normal, it is okay that you're going to increase your support for your guy, even if he's a criminal. In effect, what the right wing has done to the mainstream media, what the right wing has done to all media, is to come out there and preach. Attacking Donald Trump is good for Donald Trump. Attacking Donald Trump for crimes is good for Donald Trump. And then people, if the media signed it, maybe it is okay for Mike Carnality, who likes Donald Trump, but wouldn't mess with him if we really, really know he's a criminal, wouldn't mess with him. Again, it's that double standard. Do you think President Obama or any other politician would get that kind of a coverage? Oh, you are a criminal, so your support level around your base will grow. Look, if Obama was a criminal and the mainstream media kept on saying, yeah, he is accused of this, but all that's going to do is make him more popular with progressives. Do you really think progressives wouldn't, to some progressives, that wouldn't give them the permission because they like Obama to like him, whether a criminal or not? That is these kinds of questions, these kinds of outputs within the media that was actually stuck in there by the right wing to sort of normalize things is why we are where we are. And so many don't see it. They look at it's like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? The chicken or the egg? No, you put in people's minds that it is okay to look at this criminal as someone that can be voted for as president. Second question, when he asks her about, hey, how independents are going to see the attacks on him and somehow think it is overkill? No, it is not. And she says it's best. No, the reasons we have all these attacks on him, which is what all these mainstream media hosts should be saying, is that this guy is unethical and prone to criminality. Great wordology to our great Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Donald Trump not only is prone to criminality and unethical, but as she said, he was the leader of a terrorist attack on the United States of America. And that is who the mainstream media continues to give plausibility of being president of the greatest nation on earth. And that is what we have to stop. We have to stop giving this guy continual plausibility. And just, Michael Seaside, let me just tell you, I don't know what studies you show that most people, you mean most MAGA, believe that Donald Trump, there was big fraud. But let's get to the numbers. For all the fraud that we did find in the 2020 election, guess who committed most of them? People voting for Donald Trump. So again, you lose on both accounts, man. You lose on both accounts, my dear brother. Let's start looking for the truth. Brother Bruce Pollard is in the house. Hello, Bruce. How you doing this morning? I am very tired, folks. I am still trying to recover. I only got about 3.5 hours of sleep last night. So let's see. CE loved it all. Good show. Brava. Okay. I don't know which show you're talking about, but that's okay. If I don't have anybody else calling in the next 1 minute, I'm going to start to shut our show down. Telephone number 281-823-7747. Clock starts now. 281-823-7747. Egberto, Mike C is pulling his opinion straight out of his. Either that or he's been lied to yet again by those he follows. I mean, a lot of our right wingers get a lot of information that are nothing more than easily discoverable lies. And what irks me is that many of our good friends allow themselves to be used by these charlatanes who don't care, who doesn't give a damn about them. They're just there. Okay, folks, I'm going to start shutting her down since I haven't gotten a call at 281-823-7747. Again, one more time, 281-823. There we go. Here comes Bridge. Good afternoon, Bridge. How are you doing, my dear, beautiful lady?
I'm sorry. I almost hung up.
Why?
I didn't want to keep you. I just wanted to say that I think we made a decision to ignore the crap.
Of course.
Reply to it, not say anything. It's giving medicine to the dead. So we really have to stick to that rule. If they say something that's absolutely ridiculous and a full-out lie, don't respond, guys. Ignore them. As hard as it might be, Michael Rudnan, ignore them. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, my dear.
I know, Michael,
beautiful.
it's hard to ignore them. I know they're being ridiculous. He's just typing this. I'm just saying, I know it's ridiculous, but just stop. Have a glass of wine. Okay.
Vrij, thank you, my dear, beautiful lady, for calling in. And you are correct. I mean, there's a certain amount of ignoring that must be done. You don't give it father there. Every now and then we must say a response just so that it's in the feed. That's all. But you're absolutely right. All right. But look, thank you so kindly, beautiful, for calling in. You have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You too.
All right. All right, folks, give us support the program. And how can you support the program? It is so easy to support the program. If you're listening right now, I have an ask for you. I'd like for you to become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. Please become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. And how do you do that? You go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Have a great one, Radin. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Click on that and choose the option. It's like getting a cup of coffee for Politics Done Right. I know if you saw us on the street, you'll give a cup of coffee, not a problem. So please consider becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter. Alternatively, go visit politicsdoneright.com/support. It has all the different forms in which you can support the program. And there are many ways to support the program. We need support. Those of us that are progressive and putting this data out there in a progressive manner, we need support. The right wing has a whole lot of support. I could be loaded with money if I decided to turn this show into a right wing show. I could get a whole lot of Donald Trump's money if I just went ahead and be this guy promoting that stuff. But you know what? Dignity, honor, and supporting what's right. So please support the program, politicsdoneright.com/support. Now my book is out. I'm going to start putting up all the books here, but I have several books. But the latest one is called Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Racism Didn't Stop My Smile, Hope, or Journey Forward. Please consider getting it. You can go to politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books to get the program. And let's see, Egberto, do you or any of the PDR posse have any recommendations for manuals that explain how to use a slide ruler? Oh my God, I haven't used a slide ruler since 1982 or so. I grew up during the projects Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and want to learn how to use it. I had one. And I think I threw it away the last move that we had. It was a nice one made of aluminum. But anyway, so Carl Cox, anybody in the posse, if you have one, contact Carl Cox. Please support the program by going as well to politicsdoneright.com/books. But anyhow, I would love to get more subscribers to the newsletter. We are behind. So please, I'm going to put that link one more time in there, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please subscribe. Become a paid subscriber, and you'll be able to read all our books online. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this program. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.